And I'm pretty sure she has used those words. If you say, if I'm following your logic, if you say by using or changing the words that you use solves the problem, then why is not her problem solved?
That's an excellent way to look at it, and you're correct. It means we're not using enough words, and not enough people are using the same words to solve the problem. Sometimes it takes a quantum number of people to get it done. Like Martin Luther King used words, but he had a large number of people using the same words, and then people start paying attention. It's just like, if you're down at the bottom of the well and you're shouting and whatnot, and, everybody that you're shouting at, trying to get out of there, seems to be far distant from where they can hear you. Nobody actually hears you, or people hear something, but they don't know what it is, or they're not paying much attention to it, or they don't think that there's a real problem there. Then the result is you will die at the bottom of that well. Now, since you use the scenario of dislocation, meaning forcing black people to move from one place to another, under the system of racism, they have to do this.
Who has to do it?
I'm going to tell you right now. A lady asked me some years ago in Ohio. She said, I was sitting at her breakfast table because I was in Ohio to make a talk out of the book on the code, because this is what I do. Mm-hmm. So she said, well, what does your code say? Or what does the code say, or whatever this is that you got about my neighborhood? She said, this is a very, very nice neighborhood. I moved here. I bought a nice house here. You can see it's a nice neighborhood. But I hear rumors that the white people, I said, and so I corrected her. I said, not just any white people. I said, the white supremacists going to make you move? And she said, yes. I hear rumors that they're going to make me do that. So what does your code say about that? I said, prepare to move. And she said, what? I said, prepare to move. I said, because there are some things that they are going to do, regardless of what anybody says, because they got the muscle.
Okay, now
and I said, and this is one of them. It's called racial dislocation. They do it every day all over the world. And they are going to start doing more of it. Wherever black people are, if you're comfortable and you think you should have found you a space on this planet where you're comfortable and that you are going to stay there, and they happen to notice that you are comfortable in the space that you're in, they are going to come down the road and say, you know what, you're a little bit too comfortable, which means when you get comfortable, you might get an idea of thinking about other things, like solving other problems, because you'll solve this problem, so I'm going to give you this problem again. And I'm going to keep giving you this problem, because I have found out scientifically that when you keep people on the move, make wanderers out of them, send them scattered here and there and hither and yon, you can always control them.
Okay. Can I stop you for a second, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Like I said, I'm trying to follow your logic, but I have to be honest. It sounds like your logic is a little flawed in some areas. Okay, let's go back to the Dr. King scenario. And you were saying because he had a large number of people listening to him, if he had a large group of people listening to him, and could you explain that again?
Well, for one thing, there were signs all over the place saying black people couldn't stop here, black people couldn't stop there. I know. I came through that era. I was wearing a uniform, just got back from the front. And I'm in uniform, and I couldn't stop and get a sandwich. And I didn't know what to do about it except to die by going into the restaurant and saying I'm not going to leave, in which they would have promptly shot me, uniform and all, at that particular time, and nothing would have been done about it. Why? Because I didn't have enough people who would say anything about it. And I knew that. So I just stayed on the bus and was hungry while the white soldiers got off the bus and went in the restaurant and ate and came back, and I sat there unfed.
Okay, all right.
That's the way that works. See, you have to have enough people who will listen to you. And eventually, you have to have enough white people who will listen to you.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Let's go back to Dr. King again. This man started a mass movement. He was recognized. People were listening to him.
Yes.
Not only in this country, all over the world.
Yes.
Okay. He drew attention from all over the world regarding the racism in America pertaining to black people in particular, right?
Yes.
So he had a large group of people listening to him. So so just because you have a large group of people listening to him or listening to someone, it still doesn't change the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. We still have the problem.
Oh, you mean the problem of racism?
Yes.
Yes, we win some battles, and I always use the formula of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, because that's how I measure what black people do. We make about 3 steps forward, then 2 steps back. We're still in a battle. We have battles all day. We have battles on jobs. We have battles trying to get a job. We have battles just trying to get from one place to another. Transportation problems, all kinds of problems. We have battles with each other all the time. You can't step out your door without a black person trying to do some harm to you. I mean, somewhere, if you walk enough blocks, there's going to be some black person waiting on one of those blocks to do you some kind of harm, even if it's no more than snatch your purse.
Okay.
That's a part of the problem.
I'm sorry. Can I stop you again, please?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
You gave another scenario about a lady who shared with you that she had to move away from her home because of racism.
Yes. No, she didn't have to move. Fortunately, I checked later on, and I said, what happened to the lady who said she might have to move?
Uh-huh.
Well, apparently the white supremacists, because I say they made the decision, decided that they weren't going to bother them at that time.
All right, hang on a second, guys, because we got to take another break. Folks, is speaking with Gwen, speaking with Neely Fuller Jr., and hopefully we'll wrap it up when we come back. Some other folks want to talk to him as well. 800-450-7876, number to call. Speak to Neely Fuller Jr. We'll take your calls after this short break. And thank you for staying with us, folks. Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. is our guest. And Gwen, if you can wrap it up, we've got some other folks.
Okay,
questions,
all right. Okay. Well, I'll just end by saying that I'm still confused because if, like I said, following your logic, if you solve all problems just by changing the words that you use, then we still have the problem. We still have the problem. So maybe you can explain that a little bit more. Maybe I'm just not really understanding. And Carl, thank you so much for taking my call. And Dr. Foley, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you for calling, and I am not supposed to be contributing to confusion, but I do want to say that when people go on the radio, we're on radio right now. When people write books, whether it's Uncle Tom's Cabin or something by some of the writers of old, they have a book called the Holy Bible. I mean, they have a book called the Holy Quran. These are words. Words do matter. History has shown that words matter. People have sometimes, whole armies have gotten on the move based on words, based on some general standing up saying something to the soldiers. And they do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. This has happened all down through history. So I want people to understand that. If once we just lose control of words, just say, well, words don't matter, and words don't do anything, so we might as well just be silent. That's the alternative. Just be silent and don't say anything. Then history has shown that usually when that happens, nothing happens except the person who is doing the talking, the person who hasn't given up on words and still says something. That's the person that is listened to, because that's the only person that's talking. And everybody else is just listening. Next thing you know, everything is going that person's way. So words are very important. I want to get this out to the radio audience. If we give up on the use of words, we're going to lose it all. Because the white supremacists, like the people who are called Indians sometimes said, hey, just a few of them can come around, and a lot of them had a lot of words, and it didn't look like anything mattered for a while, but they spoke, and they spoke, and they spoke, and they spoke with forked tongue, meaning they'd say one thing and do another, but based on what they would say, they'd get a lot done. And one of the main things that they would do is get people going their way, get people to see things in a different way from the way that they had seen it before. And then the people were motivated to do the will of the people who were doing the talking. And there's a long track record of the world being motivated this way, through words. So now what the lady is saying, she's confused, she said, so she doesn't see how words matter. But maybe we need to think about both of the things, because I always tell people, don't believe anything that I say, but just look at everything that everybody is saying, including the lady that just called. And she said she's confused about this thing by people being motivated by words. And maybe everybody could be confused, and people apparently are confused. Apparently she's confused by the things that I'm saying. And I certainly don't want to contribute to the confusion. But there are people who can say things in such a way that people are not confused. So maybe she can listen to them. But I certainly wouldn't give up on the use of words as being a motivating factor in getting people to do things that they haven't done before. Football coaches know about that type of thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be football coaches. If they just sat there and looked at the game as spectators, I mean, you know, anybody can do that, sit there and look at the game. A cat can sit there and look at the game. So it evidently a football coach says something. A football coach may not move around very much. He may be overweight so that he can't move around. Bad legs. He might even be in a wheelchair. But what he says may make a difference in what happens on that field. And it's true of teachers. Teachers use words. What is a teacher doing when the teacher's standing up in front of a class? What's the difference between one teacher and another? Sometimes the difference is how one teacher uses words and how the other teacher uses words. And one teacher actually teaches in such a way that people are motivated to do certain things a certain way and are very efficient in changing the entire world. And the other teacher absolutely does nothing because of the words that he or she is using and not communicating in a way that is causing people to do the things that are said needs to be done. So we don't want to give up on words. Otherwise, we'd have to shut down all radio, all communications, and say words don't matter. Words don't matter because words, in my opinion, motivate people to get things done the way that the things are going to be done. The white supremacists understand this. They are the masters of words. And this is why they are the masters of people. Just a handful of them can come in and just by using words cause all sorts of things to happen that a lot of people refer to as being miracles. So we need to examine that.
Let's take another call, Dr. Fuller. 800-450-7876. Go to Michael on line 2. Michael's in Pittsburgh. Michael, you're on with Neely Fuller, Jr.
Thank you. And thanks, Mr. Fuller. I want to address the lady that was confused. My thing is that these people for centuries have been the masters of confusion, lies, and death. And until we decide to address them with a new truth and justice with our own words, asking them why do they oppose upon us death, lies, and confusion. The other thing is religion. There's schools of institutions of learning. There's economics. And until we pull away from this, we'll always be trapped in it. We have to overcome our fears silently and understand what we've been living in for centuries. And until we decide